I'm Sally, and we are out and about at the Discovery Center. I recently watched a TV interview of Jane Goodell. I was a bit surprised as I had not heard about her for many years, and I came to the Discovery Center, and here is a wonderful exhibit about her and her life. And the reason for the interview is that Jane Goodell has just recently published a new book, well, 2021, Book of Hope, and she talks about how, she talks about the environment, her life, her spiritual development through being with chimpanzees and other animals, and how there is hope for us despite the climate change. The exhibit here is put on by Science North and will be here for the next 2 years. So if you have a chance, do come down and see it, because her story is amazing. It also gives all of us hope. Another exhibit, Arctic Voices, shows life in the Arctic. It is truly wonderful, both interactive and with several videos showing you life in the Arctic, but how also it is changing with climate change. Black bear skull, polar bear skull. I know which one I would rather have chasing me if I were in a predicament. Of course, you know we only get black bears around the Kenora area, while there are 3 bears that are native to North America. This is a narwhal tusk. It is truly beautiful, and you can see how the spirals go counterclockwise. This is to help prevent it from shattering. Apparently, one of its functions is to detect water temperature for the narwhal. This is a narwhal skull, and you can tell by comparing it to the skull of a beluga, it's going to be much larger. The beluga is interesting because it has a bump on the top of its head, which is used for echolocation, and the beluga catches fish with serrated teeth, which it then eats whole. The bowhead eats krill, which are tiny, tiny shrimp, and it eats 2 tons of krill a day, which is filtered through what are called baleen plates, like a kind of sieve. What is very interesting is the bowhead only eats during the summer months. During the winter months, it doesn't eat, and there's very little known about them. They don't know where they breed, they don't know where the young are born. But there is some information here, all fascinating, 3 different types of whales that make the Arctic home. The Arctic is a vital part of Canada and absolutely fascinating. Don't miss your opportunity to come out to the Discovery Center and see this exhibit while it is here. Hello, I'm Sally, and I'm out about at the Lake of the Woods Museum. I'm with Braden Murray, who is the director of the MUSE, Lake of the Woods Museum, and the Douglas Family Art Center.
That's right.
Big responsibilities.
Indeed, absolutely. We've got a little bit for everyone.
And we're in the museum here. We were talking about this wonderful piano box buggy.
This is a piano box buggy. You could purchase one of these in 1897 for about $26.
You were telling me it's quite comfortable because of the huge springs. It barely looks big enough for 2 people, but 2 people could fit into it.
Well, people were a bit smaller back then, but yeah, you could fit 2 people in there. I don't know if you'd want to put 2 stout lads in there, but you know, maybe put the family in there with the baby. You'd be good to go.
Yeah, room for groceries in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So, out and about today, talking about promoting places like the museum. People should come down and see. If they've been before, they should come see again, see the exhibits.
Absolutely. There's things changing all the time here at the museum and the Art Center. We have quarterly changes at the Art Center. We have a rotating basis in the permanent gallery here, and also temporary exhibits here in the museum as well. So there's always something new to see. And
you've got different programs for the evening as well that are ongoing.
We do. So there's art programs at the Art Center. There's upcoming seniors programs here at the museum. So there's lots of things to do as well.
And if you really want to know what's going on, you become a member.
Absolutely. Membership is the best way to know exactly what's going on.
Well, thank you for introducing us to it. I'm going to wander around, talk to other people, see what's happening at the museum.
That sounds great.
Good. One of my real treats is always stopping in the gift shop, and here we have Marcus Jeffrey. Hello. He is the registrar of the museum, right?
That's correct. Museum registrar here at the Lake of the Woods Museum, part of the MUSE.
And what does a registrar do?
So my responsibilities here are mostly to look after the older items in our collection, also our archival materials, make them available for public use. And I also manage our membership database and membership program, make sure that we keep in contact with our members and keep our newsletters running out on time.
And of course you always want new members, and this is a good place to be a member.
Yes, absolutely. Our memberships go directly to supporting operations of the museum and the art center. They're very valuable for us to plan our events, to plan our exhibits, to get feedback on things as well. So yes, we have an active membership program, and we are always happy to welcome new people in.
And I understand too that the gift shop also goes to help support the museum.
Yes, that's correct. We have a number of items in our gift shop, something for everyone, both here and at the museum and at the art center. But yes, all proceeds from sales of our Shop the Muse locations go to support activities of the museum and the art center here in Kenora.
And you have quite a few local authors.
Yes, having some local content is very important to us. There's a lot of history in the area, and for people who are willing to put pen to paper and to make their stories known, we are always happy to try to incorporate those into our shop. For example, we have a book here by Brittany Luby of Nissachewan First Nation, formerly known as the Dolls, profiling the impacts of damming on Lake of the Woods on First Nations communities in our area. We have other local authors like Lil Anderson, also Fran Miles.
Lil Anderson?
Yep, Lil Anderson, Fran Miles, Phil Burke. So covering a broad range of topics.
And you were talking about this one earlier. This sounds quite interesting.
Yes, Leveling the Lake, again, on the topic of changing lake levels on Lake of the Woods and the impacts. This one is more of a historical background on the impacts of it and tracing the lake levels over the years. Very interesting, very valuable information.
Very useful for many people, a pocket Ojibwe book, as more people are interested in learning Ojibwe.
Yes, that's correct. Supporting Indigenous culture is very important for any museum across Canada, but we're very happy to be a part of that and to play our role. Bringing in products that help celebrate Indigenous culture, to help revitalize languages is part of our mandate as well. So we're happy to have a selection of items here for people who are interested in it.
And that's what I like about the museum. You find things here that you really aren't going to find anywhere else, not only books, but marvelous little toys, old-fashioned toys I've noticed quite a few times.
Oh yeah, we've got music boxes, tops, puzzles, little games that you would play, pick up sticks, that sort of thing. Really something for everyone. We try to keep things educational. We try to keep things centered on what you might find in a museum as well, but we've got a broad range of topics, of products for people of all ages.
I could keep you talking for hours, but it would be better if people came on down to see it themselves.
Absolutely, I agree. Welcome anytime. We're open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday through the year.
This is the craziest lure I've ever seen.
Yes, a number of years ago we had a sport fishing exhibit here at the museum, and we were lucky enough to get regional craftsman Pete Horley to demonstrate how he carves and creates unique lures for people. Now this piece here is a showpiece. It's a little bit large for actually catching a fish. However, we see an exact replica of this at a smaller scale, and Pete's assured me that he has caught a fish with a lure of that size.
And quite a few other lures, and Pete's from Soneros?
Yes, he's from that end of the lake, and people buy these lures for all manner of reasons. We have regular people come in every year they need their Pete Horley lure. Some folks use them, as Christmas ornaments or just decoration, but they are all usable, and Pete takes a lot of pride in his work, and we're very happy to include them here at the gift shop.
I've made earrings out of very small lures.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I can see how a nice colorful one would really pop.
So Marcus, just as we're leaving the gift shop, I noticed several books we were taught differently and common ground stories, and I was reflecting on how much I enjoyed coming to the museum to listen to people tell their stories. It was enjoyed is perhaps not the right word, but it was very educational. I was deeply moved by it.
Yeah, so what we found, the museum plays a role in the Common Ground gatherings every year. It's an opportunity for people, local experts, also just people with their own stories to share, their own perspectives on Kenora and Lake of the Woods history, to come together and to share those stories with the broader community. And we've been very fortunate to be a part of that, to help folks tell their stories, and also to gather this information, this vital information about our history, so that future generations can hold on to it.
Before it's lost.
Well, yes, unfortunately that's the case. We find so often that there are so many things that we take for granted in our day-to-day life through Kenora, and then one day they're gone, and no one's available who remembers the story. So having something like Common Ground, or our exhibits for that matter, is a really great opportunity to collect these, to share them, and to remember them, and to make sure they're remembered for future generations.
And as I was saying, as important as it is for people to listen, it's also important for people to be heard, and this really gave an opportunity for people to be heard.
Yes, and that's with Common Ground, that's a fundamental part of what they do, what the committee does, and why the museum's so happy to be a part of this. Keeps the community involved, keeps community members thinking about their own stories, and being heard as well, as you mentioned. It's very important for us. And that leads into our exhibits as well. Exhibits that we worked with partners on, like We Were Taught Differently, profiling the legacy of the Indian residential school system in the area, or Shabashka Yigan, the story of the sacred jingle dress. Again, these exhibits may have been put forth by the museum, but they would not have been possible without people sharing their stories, their experiences, and trusting us with them. And also wouldn't be possible without the cooperation of other local organizations. So we're proud to be part of these things, but it's never the museum on its own. It's always partnership, and it's always community focused.
And that's what I like about this museum. It is very much community focused. What are some of the exhibits that are coming up in 2024? 2024
is going to be a very busy year. We just hired a new curator, Cody Brooke Goodman, who is getting things planned out, but we had an existing slate of exhibits that we're working on right now. In January, we're going to be doing a rehash of a portrait show that we focused on before COVID. People have the opportunity to see it again. It's some very stunning images of people from Kenora in the area. We're also planning a textile show. We have an annual quilt show that's always very popular. It hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but we are working on finalizing a prisoner of war exhibit. Whether that's this year or in the future, it's one thing that we're very keen on. There's a lot of interest in it. So we're hoping to get that done as well.
And as I said earlier, let's hope it includes a boat tour.
Oh, that'd be very fun for sure. I know there's always been a lot of interest. People love exploring the lake. And for all the boats that go zipping by, we see out of our office in the middle of the summer, it's nice to know that there's some historical context that people can take away from their trips on the lake. And if we can be a part of that, that'd be fantastic.
Marcus, the permanent exhibit obviously is on both floors. What period of history does it mostly cover? Yeah, so we're actually spread over 3 levels here. Our focus is mainly on the town of Kenora in the northern part of Lake of the Woods. Our wheelhouse is really from the 1880s through to about the 1960s, but we're always evolving. Our so-called permanent gallery is always changing. We're moving things in and out. History never stops, so we're always collecting new things. We've got a very active collecting mandate. So we're always trying to find new ways of telling the story of Kenora, Keewatin, Jaffrey Mellick, Rat Portage. So it's a pretty broad time span that we work with here. And the ramp really connects us from different levels, and you were saying earlier that part of a ramp you've got displays that are easily more changeable? Yeah, we find it's a very good opportunity to showcase seasonal items. So, for example, we're currently in a time of transition. We focused on summer and fall, but now we're switching into our winter seasonal items. And so as a little kid, wouldn't you have just loved to have a little sled like that and skate behind it? Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Or one of the little toboggans as well. I think we have one in our collection right now. Marcus, I think this is my color, and I can see myself at some fancy ball. It's absolutely lovely, isn't it? Yes. We have a very large textile collection here at the museum. We find that it's so valuable for teaching people about the social context of history throughout the eras, really. I mean, when we look at these dresses here, they're beautiful examples of patterns that people would buy to create themselves. So these were Vogue Paris originals, and they were almost
indistinguishable from ones that you would buy from a tailor shop already made, but these were patterns that people sewed together themselves.
And I see they say 1920s, and you can see how with the black jet beads, there's quite attention to detail. And I remember if you get to what one wore during the wartime, it was much more restricted and not fancy.
Yes, there's a really a broad variety in dress styles throughout the eras as well. And I mean, really, these patterns, you can see them starting really from the post-war period onto into the 1960s, when people were using the means that they had. They'd grab their patterns, they'd grab their materials from local fabric stores, and really create their own wardrobes, which is really quite neat.
The bridal exhibit that the museum had a few years ago was fascinating to see what came into fashion or what went, and when white started becoming fashionable. Queen Victoria.
Yeah, and the other layer to that is the personal stories that are connected with so many of these things, especially with bridal gowns. I mean, these are some of the biggest moments in a person's life related to weddings, and it's just phenomenal examples of textile work, and also the history and local context behind them as well.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thanks, Sallie.
Here be dragons, and there are dragons, wonderful dragons, here at the Douglas Family Art Center by artist Irene McQuaig. I can't believe how many dragons and how wonderful they are. It brings out the child delight in me. For anyone who has had wonderful tales of dragons, this is the place to be. The exhibit is here till the end of January. You shouldn't miss it. I'm Sallie, out and about at the Douglas Family Art Center. I have with me Sophie Lavoie, curator of the center. Welcome and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Sallie.
And we're standing in an exhibit room. Can you tell me about it?
It's a very powerful exhibition. We're very excited to present this show. It's the first show of Marcia Whidden's work in a long time. She's originally from Sault Ste. Marie, but grew up here in Kenora. And unfortunately, in her first year of art school at the U of M, she received a cancer diagnosis, a terminal cancer diagnosis, which deeply affected her work. The work seen here in the show, called Mirror's Echo, is a body of work that she produced after her diagnosis, where she's struggling a lot with the light and dark of life. Also some thoughts on society at large. She really worked as hard as she could, produced an amazing body of work, which is an invitation for all of us to sort of do some introspection about ourselves, the human psyche, and our experience as humans. Very powerful show. It's on until January 13th.
And the meaning of life and our coming to terms with death, I think, as well.
Well, the fact that death is also a part of life.
Yes.
It is not something necessarily that just happens after. It's something that happens within.
That we take with us. Yes.
That's right.
I haven't, we just stepped into this room, so I haven't had a lot of time, but you can certainly feel emotion just emanating from the paintings.
We call it handling, where you can feel by how something is made. So whether it's a hard pressure, how you feel about it, versus something that's soft, different colors that are used, different mediums. Are you using your hands? Are you just using a brush? Are you using a pencil? So there's actually a lot to experience and to read, even though it's a visual, simply a visual experience. A lot of people equate her work. They see Francis Bacon as an English artist. International celebrity who people have seen some parallels with her work here, dealing with some of the darkness of the human psyche. But again, without darkness, there's no light, so there's a fabulous contrast here as well.
Also, a contrast between this exhibit and the exhibit on the first floor, Here Be Dragons. I don't think there could be more of a contrast.
Well, yes and no. The fantasy art is our first fantasy art downstairs, her first fantasy show. So that's more the whimsical light side of dragons, and this is maybe more some of the more psychological dragons that we wrestle with. But downstairs, certainly a lot of fun. Irene McQuaig is a local artist here. A lot of people know her because she runs Inglenook Studios, to teach a lot of art classes, and she's been a teacher. She's really embraced the theme of dragons, and so she received an Ontario Arts Council grant to develop a body of work which was 100 dragons, and we've pared it down to a very fine selection of works. So dragons is in everything. We have a massive 7-foot-high paper dragon suspended from the ceiling, as well as a 6-foot-long driftwood dragon. There's dragons that are sort of thought about in a different way. Snapdragon flowers are actually little dragons, and if you say left the fair instead of, you know, a fish in a bag, whether you left with a little dragon. There's all sorts of different parallels, and it's a really fun show. People have been enjoying it and coming back. It's been wonderful.
I can see that. I was looking at it and just fell into it looking for my dragon to take home. Mm-hmm. Coming in 2024, you have other exhibits coming in?
Yeah, these shows, we are closing between Christmas and New Year's, but these shows do extend into the new year. Downstairs, we have Chris Gould on a silver platter. Anybody that knows Chris Gould, she's a local artist here, runs Fragile Glass Studios. She did a series in 2015, also received an Ontario Arts Council grant, and it is another show that is something to be experienced. It will be a dramatic room, and she has armored animal skulls. And each one is individual. She's adorned them also with glass that she makes herself. It is something that feels regal, medieval, primal, and really, again, has to do with essence.
And some of them are beautiful.
I find them all beautiful. And the way that she works with the lynx, or the way that she works with the moose, or the eagle. She worked with M&R as well to make sure that any of the animals that were on protected lists, she has synthetic ones. So there is a human, but again, it is a synthetic piece, but again, it is adorned with horns. Very, very special show, very special show. I've had people coming in here that have asked me whether I saw that show that many years ago. It was that profound of an experience for them. And she's actually created an additional 11 for this show.
Perfect, yes.
In the upper gallery here, we'll have a national touring show. It's Catherine Blackburn, New Age Warriors. She's an Indigenous mixed heritage artist from Saskatchewan, and she has sort of thought about or reimagined sort of traditional female regalia, beautiful beadwork, but again, thinking about a contemporary female warrior. And so there's lots of fashion involved as well. Fabulous show, has rave reviews across the country. We're very excited to receive this national touring show here in Kenora.
It sounds, from what you're talking, there's many reasons why people should be checking out what's here, because there's so many different things in such depth.
That's right. Our shows change quite a bit. We also have work on the external walls. Actually, in December, we also have a show called Deck the Hall, which is a community exhibition. Anybody can make an ornament and submit it. So there's community events that happen here. There's also fine art, high caliber national shows that happen here. Lots of programming that happens here. We have a studio, we have a library. It's a very busy place for anybody that likes to be creative or enjoys the arts.
Well, thank you for your time. And I really urge everybody to check out the MUSE, whether it is the museum or the Douglas Family Arts Center, because there are just so many things to really think about, look at, and change. Enjoy, but also change how you think about things.
That's right.
Which is what art is all about.
It certainly is.
The Douglas Family Arts Center also has an enticing gift store with things to delight people of every age. I find I cannot spend too much time in here, otherwise I would be carrying out packages and packages. Make sure you take a good look. Until next time.